What if everything you were taught about improving yourself was only half the story? Think about it. From the time we're children, we're told to fix what's wrong. Your math scores are low, practice more math. You're shy, try to be more outgoing. You struggle with public speaking, take a class. You're not organized, buy a planner and fix it. Fix. 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 And so we spend our lives chasing our weaknesses. We pour energy into the things that drain us. We try to become well-rounded, average at everything, exceptional at nothing. And somewhere along the way, we forget to ask the most important question. What if success doesn't come from fixing what's wrong with you? What if it comes from using what's already right? This audiobook is about that question. It's about a different path, one that doesn't ask you to become someone else. It asks you to become more of who you already are. In the next hour, we'll explore how your mind is wired differently from everyone else's. How your natural patterns of thinking, feeling, and acting aren't accidents. They're signals. We'll look at why some work feels effortless while other work exhausts you. Why you can do certain things for hours without getting tired. And why no amount of training will ever make you great at something that isn't yours. This isn't about arrogance or ignoring your flaws. It's about something more practical. It's about understanding that human beings don't grow the most in areas of weakness. They grow the most in areas of strength. And when you finally start working with your grain instead of against it, everything changes. Your confidence shifts. Your energy increases. Your results improve. Not because you're trying harder, but because you're finally trying in the right direction. So take a breath with me. Let go of everything you've been told about fixing yourself. And let's begin. This is the Strength Within. Chapter ONE: The Hidden Cost of Trying to Be Well-Rounded. I want you to imagine something with me. Picture a garden. In this garden, there are many plants. Tomatoes. Roses. Basil. Oak trees. Orchids. Now imagine the gardener comes along with one rule. Every plant must be equally good at everything. The tomatoes must also bloom like roses. The roses must also provide shade like oak trees. The oak trees must also smell sweet like orchids. Ridiculous, right? You'd look at that gardener and say, that's not how plants work. Each one has its own nature, its own purpose, its own way of thriving. And yet, this is exactly how we've been trained to treat ourselves. From our earliest school days, we're told to be good at everything. If you love writing but struggle with math, more math tutoring. If you're brilliant at building things but shy in groups, more group projects. If you think in pictures while others think in words, learn to think like them. The message is clear. Your strengths are nice, but your weaknesses are urgent. Fix them. Improve them. Make them average. And so we do. We spend thousands of hours, years even, trying to patch the holes. Trying to become acceptable at things that drain us. Trying to meet some invisible standard of well-rounded. But here's what no one tells you. There's a cost to all this fixing. A hidden cost that doesn't show up on any report card. The first cost is mediocrity. Think about it. When you spend your energy trying to be average at everything, you never become exceptional at anything. You spread yourself thin, like butter over too much bread. And the result? You end up in the middle of every pack. Not bad enough to fail, but not good enough to stand out. The world doesn't reward well-rounded people. The world rewards people who are exceptionally good at something. Michael Jordan was not well-rounded at sports. He was exceptional at basketball. Steve Jobs was not well-rounded at business. He was exceptional at vision and design. Your favorite musician is not well-rounded at instruments. They're exceptional at theirs. Excellence doesn't come from fixing weaknesses. Excellence comes from amplifying strengths. The second cost is energy. Have you ever noticed how some tasks drain you completely? You do them for 30 minutes, and you need a nap. You dread them. You procrastinate on them. You avoid them. Those are usually your weakness areas. And when you spend your life in those areas, you're constantly running on empty. Every task feels harder than it should. Every day feels like a struggle. By evening, you're exhausted, even if you didn't accomplish much. Now think about the opposite. Think about something you could do for hours without getting tired. Something that actually gives you energy instead of taking it. That's your strength zone. And when you're there, work doesn't feel like work. Time disappears. Effort feels natural. The cost of focusing on weaknesses isn't just poor results. It's a life that feels exhausting. The third cost is identity. This one is deeper and more painful. When you spend years focusing on what's wrong with you, you begin to believe that something is wrong with you. You internalize the message. I'm not good enough. I need to be fixed. I need to become someone else. And that belief, that constant feeling of not measuring up, it seeps into everything. Your confidence shrinks. Your voice gets quieter. Your dreams get smaller. Because how can you dream big when you believe you're fundamentally broken? This is the hidden cost of the well-rounded myth. Mediocrity, exhaustion, and a quiet erosion of self-trust. Now, I'm not saying you should ignore every weakness. Some weaknesses matter. If you're a surgeon who can't focus, that's a problem. If you're a teacher who can't communicate, that's a problem. If your weakness harms others or blocks your basic function, address it. But most weaknesses, most of the things we spend years trying to fix, aren't that. They're just areas where we're not naturally wired to excel. They're not character flaws. They're not moral failures. They're just not us. And here's the truth that changes everything. You don't have to fix every weakness to live an extraordinary life. You just have to get good enough at your weaknesses so they don't stop you. And spend the rest of your energy amplifying what you already do well. The goal isn't to be well-rounded. The goal is to be exceptional at the right things. And that starts with a radical shift in focus. From what's wrong with you, to what's already right. If this idea is resonating with you, take a moment to like this video. Sometimes the simplest shifts change everything. Chapter 2: You are wired differently, and that's the point. Let me tell you a story about two people. Sarah and Michael both work in customer service. Same company. Same role. Same training. Sarah loves it. She talks to customers and feels energized. She can read people's moods instantly. She knows when to be patient and when to push. By the end of the day, she's tired but satisfied. The human connection feeds her. Michael hates it. Every conversation drains him. He needs hours alone after work to recover. He's good at his job, he's learned the scripts, he follows the rules. But it costs him. Deeply. Now here's the question. Is something wrong with Michael? No. Michael's not broken. He's just wired differently. Maybe his strength is analysis, not interaction. Maybe he thrives in quiet focus, not constant conversation. Maybe his brain processes information deeply and slowly, not quickly and socially. Sarah and Michael aren't better or worse than each other. They're just different. And that difference isn't an accident. It's by design. The science of natural wiring. Every human being comes into this world with certain natural tendencies. Psychologists have studied this for decades. Some people are naturally more outgoing, some more reserved. Some think in words, some in images. Some love patterns and systems, some love people and relationships. Some thrive on routine, some need novelty. These patterns show up early in life. They persist over time. They influence what we notice, what we enjoy, and what we're good at. And here's what the research shows. When people work in alignment with their natural wiring, they learn faster, perform better, and stay motivated longer. When they work against it, they struggle, burn out, and rarely excel. Think about language learning. Some people pick up languages naturally. They hear a phrase once and remember it. They feel the grammar without studying rules. For them, learning Spanish or French feels like play. Other people, same intelligence, same effort, struggle for years. They memorize vocabulary and forget it. They study grammar and can't apply it. It never clicks. Is the second group lazy? Stupid? Unmotivated? No. They're just not wired for language acquisition. Their genius lies somewhere else. The problem with one way. Our culture tends to treat everyone as if they're the same. We have one education system, and if you don't fit it, you're struggling. We have one career path, and if you don't follow it, you're behind. We have one definition of success, and if you don't match it, you're failing. But this is a category error. You can't judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree. And you can't judge Michael by Sarah's standards. The question isn't why aren't you like Sarah? The question is what are you wired for? The 4 dimensions of difference. Let me offer you a simple framework to understand your own wiring. Think about these 4 areas. 1. How do you get energy? Some people get energy from being around others. Crowds energize them. Conversation feeds them. Solitude drains them. Other people get energy from being alone. Quiet restores them. Focus recharges them. Too much people time exhausts them. Neither is right or wrong. They're just different energy systems. 2. How do you take in information? Some people love details. They notice specifics. They remember facts. They want data. Other people love the big picture. They see patterns. They connect ideas. They want meaning. The detail person sees the trees. The big picture person sees the forest. Both are necessary. Both are valuable. 3. How do you make decisions? Some people decide with their head. They analyze. They weigh pros and cons. They want logic. Other people decide with their heart. They consider values. They think about people. They want harmony. The head person builds systems. The heart person builds relationships. The world needs both. 4. How do you approach structure? Some people love plans. They need schedules. They want to know what's next. Uncertainty stresses them. Other people love spontaneity. They hate rigid plans. They thrive on flexibility. Surprise excites them. The planner creates order. The spontaneous person adapts to change. Different situations need different approaches. Now here's the important part. These aren't choices you make. They're patterns you notice. You didn't decide to be energized by people or drained by them. You discovered it. You didn't choose to love details or big picture. You realized it. And when you understand these patterns, everything shifts. You stop trying to be the person you're not. You start becoming more of who you are. The freedom of self-knowledge. There's a freedom that comes with knowing your wiring. When you understand that you're naturally quiet, you stop forcing yourself to be the life of the party. You find quieter ways to connect. When you understand that you think in big pictures, you stop beating yourself up for missing details. You find people who love details to partner with. When you understand that you decide with your heart, you stop pretending to be coldly logical. You trust your values. This isn't about making excuses. It's about working with yourself instead of against yourself. It's about recognizing that you have a unique design. And that design is your greatest asset. The world doesn't need another person trying to be well-rounded. The world needs you, fully, deeply, unapologetically you. And that starts with understanding how you're wired. So here's your invitation for this week. Pay attention to your energy. What drains you? What fills you? When do you lose track of time? What feels natural, almost effortless? These aren't random observations. They're clues to your wiring. They're maps to your strengths. And in the next chapter, we'll learn exactly how to read them. Chapter 3: How to Recognize Your Strength Signals, 8 minutes. A few years ago, I met a woman named Rachel. Rachel was an accountant. Good job. Stable income. Respectable career. But Rachel was miserable. Every morning, she'd hit snooze 3 times. Every Sunday night, she'd feel a knot in her stomach. Every day at work, she'd watch the clock. She came to me frustrated. "What's wrong with me?" she asked. "I'm good at this job. I passed all the tests. I do the work correctly. So why do I hate it?" I asked her a simple question. "What do you do when you're not at work?" Her face changed. "Well, I volunteer at a youth center on weekends. And I love it. I could stay there forever. The kids, they just open up to me. I don't know why." "Rachel, what do you actually do at the youth center?" "I listen to them. They tell me about their problems, their dreams, their fears. And somehow, I know what to say. I don't plan it. It just comes." There it was. Rachel wasn't meant to be an accountant. She was meant to be a counselor, a mentor, a guide. Her strength wasn't numbers. Her strength was connection. The problem wasn't Rachel. The problem was that Rachel was looking for her strengths in the wrong place. She was looking at her job title instead of her life. The 4 strength signals. Over the years, I've noticed that strengths send signals. Clear signals. If you know how to read them. Here are the 4 most important ones. Signal 1, ease of learning. Think about something you learned quickly. Something that felt natural from the beginning. Maybe it was playing an instrument. Maybe it was understanding people. Maybe it was organizing spaces. Maybe it was fixing things. While others struggled, you just got it. This isn't coincidence. This is a strength signal. When you're wired for something, learning feels almost too easy. You absorb it without effort. You understand it without explanation. Now, sometimes we dismiss these things. It's nothing special. Anyone can do it. But that's exactly the point. It feels easy to you because it's natural to you. And natural is powerful. Signal 2, flow. Have you ever lost track of time doing something? You start at 2 p.m., you look up, and it's 6 p.m. You didn't notice the hours pass. You didn't feel tired. You were completely absorbed. Psychologists call this flow. And flow is a powerful strength signal. What were you doing? What was the activity? What was the context? For Rachel, flow happened at the youth center. For Sarah from her earlier story, flow happened with customers. For Michael, flow might happen alone with data. Flow doesn't lie. When time disappears, you're in your strength zone. Signal 3, rapid recovery. This one is subtle but important. Think about something that drains you. After doing it, you need to rest. Recover. Recharge. Now think about something that energizes you. After doing it, you feel more alive. More yourself. More capable. Here's the test. When you're drained by one thing, how quickly do you recover if you switch to something you love? Let me give you an example. I know a teacher who finds grading papers exhausting. Hours of sitting. Hours of evaluating. Hours of the same thing over and over. But after grading, she goes to the classroom. She teaches. She engages. She connects. And within 15 minutes, her energy is back. The exhaustion is gone. That's rapid recovery. When you're in your weakness zone, you drain. When you return to your strength zone, you refill. And if you refill quickly, that's a strong signal. Signal 4, the compliment you don't believe. This is the most ironic signal. Ask yourself, what do people compliment you on that you don't take seriously? Maybe people say, "You're so patient." And you think, anyone would be patient in that situation. Maybe people say, "You explain things so clearly." And you think, I'm just saying what makes sense. Maybe people say, "You always know how to make people feel comfortable." And you think, I'm not doing anything special. Stop. When people consistently notice something about you, and you consistently dismiss it as nothing special, that's a strength. You dismiss it because it's natural to you. It doesn't feel like effort. It doesn't feel like skill. It just feels like you. But to others, it's remarkable. Because they don't have it. Rachel dismissed her ability to connect with kids. "It's nothing," she said. "I just listen." But to those kids, it was everything. The map is in your life. You don't need a test to find your strengths. You don't need a consultant. You don't need a course. The map is already in your life. In what you learn easily. In what makes time disappear. In what restores your energy. In what others see but you don't. These 4 signals are always there. Pointing you toward your natural talents. Guiding you toward your strength zone. The question is, will you start paying attention? Rachel did. She started listening to her signals. She stopped dismissing her gift. She began training in counseling. Within 2 years, she left accounting. Within 5, she was running the youth center. Not because she fixed her weaknesses. Because she finally listened to her strengths. So this week, pay attention. Watch for the signals. They're always there. And in our next chapter, we'll explore something even more important. The difference between talent and skill, and why it matters more than you think. If this chapter is speaking to you, take a moment to share it with someone who needs to hear it. Sometimes the people closest to us can't see their own signals. Chapter 4: Talent versus Skill, Understanding the Difference. There's a confusion that holds many people back. The confusion between talent and skill. Let me explain the difference. Talent is your natural wiring. It's the way your brain automatically thinks, feels, and behaves. It's what comes naturally to you. It's the raw material you were born with. Skill is knowledge and ability you build over time. It's what you learn through practice, training, and experience. It's the craft you develop. Talent is the seed. Skill is the water, sunlight, and soil. You need both. But most people confuse them. The misunderstanding. Here's what happens. Someone sees a talented musician play effortlessly. They think it's all natural. They didn't work for it. Someone sees a skilled musician who practiced for years. They think, if I practice enough, I can be just like the talented one. Both are wrong. The talented musician without practice goes nowhere. The skilled musician without talent hits a ceiling. Let me give you a clearer example. Think about two basketball players. One has natural talent for the game. They're tall. They're coordinated. They see the court in a special way. But they never practice. They never train. They coast on talent. The other has less natural talent. They're shorter. Less coordinated. They don't see the game as naturally. But they practice obsessively. They train every day. They study film. They work. Who succeeds? In the beginning, the talented one looks better. But over time, the skilled one catches up. And eventually, the skilled one passes them. Now here's the key. The person who combines talent with skill? The one who's naturally gifted and works obsessively? That person becomes extraordinary. Why this matters for you? When you discover your talents, you're not done. You've just found your raw material. The real work is building skill on top of that talent. Think of it this way. Talent is your natural advantage. It means you start further ahead than others. It means you learn faster in this area. It means you enjoy the practice more. But you still have to practice. You still have to learn. You still have to build the craft. Rachel had natural talent for connecting with young people. But she still needed training. She still needed to learn counseling techniques. She still needed to understand psychology. She still needed to practice. Her talent made the learning easier. Her talent made the work more enjoyable. Her talent gave her a head start. But without skill, talent is just potential. The 10,000 hours myth. You've probably heard the idea that 10,000 hours of practice makes you an expert. Here's what that idea gets wrong. 10,000 hours of practice in something you're not wired for makes you a slightly better beginner. 10,000 hours of practice in something you're wired for makes you a master. The difference isn't the hours. The difference is the fit. Two people practice the same hours. One becomes exceptional. One becomes adequate. The one who becomes exceptional has talent meeting skill. The one who becomes adequate has only skill. This isn't discouraging. It's liberating. It means you don't have to spend 10,000 hours on everything. You just have to spend them on the right things. Finding your fit. So here's your question. Where do you have natural talent? What comes easily to you? What do you learn faster than others? What do you enjoy practicing? That's where your 10,000 hours should go. Not into fixing what's hard. Not into becoming average at something that drains you. Not into chasing someone else's path. Into your talent. Into your natural advantage. Into the area where practice will actually pay off. Because here's the truth. When talent meets skill. When natural ability meets dedicated practice. When your wiring meets your work. That's where excellence happens. That's where fulfillment happens. That's where you become not just good, but great. And greatness is available to everyone. Not in everything, but in the one thing you were made for. So stop asking, what should I practice? Start asking, what am I naturally wired to practice? The answer to that question changes everything. Chapter 5: The Myth of Work Harder. We've been sold a story. A simple story. A seductive story. The story says, if you're not succeeding, you're not working hard enough. If you're struggling, you need to push more. If you're stuck, you need to grind. Work harder. Push through. Grind it out. And this story works, for some things. If you're trying to lose weight, working harder at exercise helps. If you're trying to finish a project, working harder on deadlines helps. If you're trying to learn a new skill, working harder at practice helps. But here's what the story doesn't tell you. Working harder in the wrong direction doesn't help. Working harder against your wiring doesn't help. Working harder in your weakness zone doesn't help. In fact, it hurts. The law of diminishing returns. Economists talk about the law of diminishing returns. It means, at a certain point, putting in more effort produces less and less result. Think about studying. The first hour, you learn a lot. The second hour, you learn less. The third hour, even less. By the fourth hour, you're staring at the page but nothing's going in. That's diminishing returns. Now here's what's fascinating. When you're working in your strength zone, diminishing returns happen much later. You can work longer and still learn. You can practice more and still improve. You can push harder and still grow. But when you're working in your weakness zone, diminishing returns happen fast. Very fast. An hour feels like 4. Learning slows to a crawl. Progress stops. And what do we do when progress stops? We work harder. We push. We grind. We force. And the returns diminish even more. The exhaustion trap. This is the trap millions of people fall into. They're in the wrong job, so they work harder. They're in the wrong field, so they push more. They're using the wrong skills, so they grind longer. And they get exhausted. Not just tired, exhausted. Deeply, fundamentally exhausted. Because they're fighting themselves every single day. They're swimming against their own current. They're working harder and harder, while going nowhere. And then they blame themselves. If I just worked harder. If I just pushed through. If I just had more discipline. But the problem isn't effort. The problem is direction. The parable of the rower. Imagine 2 rowers in a race. The first rower rows with the current. The water flows in their direction. Each stroke moves them forward powerfully. They're tired at the end, but satisfied. The second rower rows against the current. The water fights them at every stroke. They work twice as hard, and move half as far. By the end, they're exhausted, defeated, and still behind. Now imagine telling the second rower. You just need to work harder. What would happen? They'd work harder. They'd push more. They'd exhaust themselves completely. And they'd still lose. Because the problem isn't effort. The problem is direction. The first rower didn't win because they worked harder. They won because they worked with the current. The power of right direction. This is the shift I want you to make. Stop asking, how can I work harder? Start asking, am I working in the right direction? Because hard work in the wrong direction is wasted work. Hard work in the right direction is everything. Think about the most successful people you know. Do they work hard? Yes. Almost all of them do. But here's what you don't see. They're working hard in their strength zone. They're working with their grain. They're rowing with the current. So their hard work produces results. Their hard work feels meaningful. Their hard work creates momentum. While others are exhausting themselves against the current, they're flowing with it. Your turn. So here's your question for today. Where are you rowing against the current? Where are you working harder and harder, but feeling stuck? Where are you pushing and grinding, but going nowhere? Where are you exhausted at the end of every day, but not sure why? That's your signal. That's the place where hard work isn't working. That's the place where more effort won't help. And here's the hard truth. Sometimes the answer isn't working harder. Sometimes the answer is changing direction. Not quitting. Not giving up. Just shifting. Finding the current. Finding the flow. Finding where your effort actually pays off. Because life's too short to row against the current forever. And the moment you stop fighting yourself, the moment you start working with your grain, everything changes. Pause for a second here. Really think about it. Where are you rowing against the current? And what would change if you stopped? Chapter 6, Operating Inside Your Strength Zone. Let me tell you about two managers. David manages a team of software developers. He's technically brilliant. He knows the code better than anyone. When his team has a technical problem, he solves it instantly. When they're stuck on architecture, he designs the solution. But David's team is unhappy. They feel micromanaged. They feel untrusted. They feel like David doesn't think they're capable. David is confused. I'm helping them, he says. I'm solving their problems. Why aren't they grateful? Now meet Priya. Priya also manages a software team. She's not the best coder on the team. Several of her people write better code than she does. But Priya's team is thriving. They love working with her. They feel supported. They feel trusted. What's the difference? David's strength is technical problem solving. But he's using that strength in the wrong way. He's solving problems for his team instead of helping them solve problems themselves. Priya's strength is developing people. She asks questions instead of giving answers. She creates space for her team to grow. She trusts them to figure things out. Both are talented. But only one is using their talent in the right context. This is crucial to understand. Having a strength isn't enough. You have to apply it in the right way, at the right time, in the right role. The 4 zones of work. Let me give you a simple framework to think about this. Every task you do falls into one of 4 zones. Zone 1, Strength Zone. This is where your talent meets the task. You are naturally good at this. You enjoy it. Time flies. You produce great results with reasonable effort. Zone 2, growth zone. This is related to your strengths, but stretches you. You're not naturally gifted here yet, but you could be with practice. This is where development happens. Zone 3, tolerance zone. This is work you can do, but it drains you. You're competent enough, but it costs you energy. You can tolerate it for a while, but not forever. Zone 4, weakness zone. This is work that goes against your grain. You're not good at it. You don't enjoy it. It exhausts you. And no amount of practice will make you great at it. Now here's the key. Most people spend too much time in zones 3 and 4. They tolerate the draining work. They struggle against their weaknesses. And they wonder why they're exhausted. The goal isn't to eliminate zones 3 and 4 entirely. Some draining work is unavoidable. Some weaknesses need to be managed. But the goal is to spend as much time as possible in zones 1 and 2. In your strength zone. In your growth zone. Applying your strengths strategically. Let's go back to David and Priya. David's strength is technical problem solving. In Zone 1, he's brilliant at solving hard technical challenges. But as a manager, he's applying that strength poorly. He's using it to solve his team's problems. That's actually Zone 3 for him, because managing people isn't his strength. What if David shifted? What if he used his technical strength to mentor his team? To teach them how to solve problems themselves? To design systems that prevent problems in the first place? That would move him back into Zone 1. He'd still use his strength, but in a way that serves his role. Priya's strength is developing people. As a manager, she's in Zone 1 every day. She's doing what comes naturally. And her team thrives because of it. The same strength, applied differently, produces completely different results. Finding your application. So here's your question. Where are you applying your strengths poorly? Maybe you're great at organizing, but you're organizing things that don't matter. Maybe you're great at connecting with people, but you're in a role that requires isolation. Maybe you're great at big picture thinking, but you're stuck in daily details. Your strength is still there. It's just pointed in the wrong direction. The solution isn't to find a new strength. The solution is to find a new application. Ask yourself, how can I use my strength in a way that serves my role? How can I apply my natural talent to what actually matters? How can I shift from Zone 3 back into Zone 1? Sometimes it's a small shift. Sometimes it's a conversation with your manager. Sometimes it's a new project. Sometimes it's a new role entirely. But the shift is always possible. The energy audit. Here's a practical exercise. For the next week, track your energy. At the end of each day, write down. What gave me energy today? What drained me? When did I lose track of time? When did I watch the clock? After 7 days, look for patterns. The things that give you energy, that's Zone 1. The things that drain you, that's Zone 3 or 4. Now ask yourself, can I do more of the energy-giving things? Can I delegate or reduce the energy-draining things? Can I shift how I do the draining things to make them more bearable? This simple audit, this 1 week of attention, can transform how you spend your time. Because most of us operate on autopilot. We do what we've always done. We accept draining work as normal. We forget that it could be different. But it can be different. You can spend more time in your strength zone. You can design your days around what energizes you. You can build a life that fits your wiring. It doesn't happen overnight. But it starts with awareness. And awareness begins now. Chapter SEVN Stop Managing Weakness, Start Managing Energy. There's a phrase we hear all the time in self-development. Manage your weaknesses. It sounds so reasonable, so responsible, so mature. But let me ask you something. What happens when you spend your life managing weaknesses? You become adequate at your weaknesses and average at everything else. Because while you're managing what's wrong, you're not building what's right. The weakness management trap. Think about energy for a moment. Every human being has a finite amount of energy each day. Physical energy, mental energy, emotional energy. When you spend that energy managing weaknesses, it's gone. You can't get it back. You can't use it for anything else. So you spend your day struggling through tasks that drain you, fighting against your natural wiring, pushing through work that feels wrong. By evening, you're exhausted. You have nothing left for growth. Nothing left for learning. Nothing left for the things you actually love. And the next day, you do it again. This isn't managing weakness. This is being managed by weakness. A different approach. What if you shifted your focus? What if instead of managing weaknesses, you started managing energy? Energy management asks different questions. Not how do I fix what's wrong, but how do I use what's right? Not how do I become adequate at everything, but how do I become exceptional at something? Not how do I survive my weaknesses, but how do I thrive in my strengths? This shift changes everything. The partnership principle. Here's one of the most practical insights I've ever learned. You don't have to be good at everything. You just have to partner with people who are good at what you're not. Think about any successful organization. Does the CEO do everything? No. The CEO focuses on their strengths and hires people who fill the gaps. Does the star athlete do everything? No. They focus on their position and trust their teammates to handle the rest. Does the best surgeon do everything? No. They focus on the surgery and rely on nurses, anesthesiologists, and technicians for everything else. Success isn't about being complete. Success is about being part of a complete team. So why do we expect ourselves to be complete alone? The art of strategic weakness management. Now, I'm not saying ignore all weaknesses. Some weaknesses matter. Some weaknesses need attention. Some weaknesses, if left unchecked, will derail everything. The key is to manage them strategically. Not with all your energy. Not as your primary focus. Not as your identity. Just enough so they don't stop you. Think of it like this. Imagine you're driving a car. The engine is your strength. It's what moves you forward. The brakes are your weaknesses. They stop you from crashing. You don't spend your whole day working on the brakes. You just make sure they work well enough to keep you safe. Then you focus on the engine. That's strategic weakness management. Make your weaknesses adequate, so your strengths can be exceptional. The 80-20 rule of energy. Here's a simple rule to live by. Spend 80% of your energy on your strengths. Spend 20% on managing your weaknesses. 80% on what energizes you. 20% on what drains you. 80% on building excellence. 20% on ensuring adequacy. This ratio changes everything. Because now, most of your day is spent in your strength zone. Most of your energy goes toward growth. Most of your time feels meaningful. And the 20% you spend on weaknesses? It's enough. Just enough to keep things stable. Not enough to exhaust you. Your energy budget. Think about your typical week. How much time do you spend on your strengths? How much time do you spend wrestling with weaknesses? If the balance is off, if you're spending most of your energy on what drains you, no wonder you're exhausted. You're not lazy. You're not undisciplined. You're just spending your energy in the wrong place. So here's your invitation. This week, try a small experiment. Pick one day. Just one day. On that day, spend as much time as possible in your strength zone. Do the things that energize you. Use the talents that come naturally. And at the end of the day, notice how you feel. Then try another day. And another. Because once you taste what it feels like to live in your strengths, you'll never want to go back. And that's not laziness. That's wisdom. If this chapter is landing with you, subscribe to the channel. More deep dive audiobooks like this are coming every week. Chapter 8: Becoming Exceptionally You. We've covered a lot of ground together. We've talked about the myth of well-roundedness. We've explored how you're wired differently. We've learned to recognize your strength signals. We've understood the difference between talent and skill. We've seen why working harder isn't always the answer. We've discovered how to operate in your strength zone. We've learned to manage energy instead of weaknesses. And now, we arrive at the final question. What does it mean to become exceptionally you? The courage to be specific. Here's the hard truth. Being exceptionally you means letting go of being everything else. It means accepting that you won't be good at everything. It means admitting that some doors are closed to you. It means releasing the fantasy of being universally capable. And that is scary. Because we're taught that we should be good at everything. We're taught that weakness is failure. We're taught that limitation is loss. But limitation isn't loss. Limitation is focus. A river that tries to flow everywhere goes nowhere. A river that stays in its banks carves canyons. Your limitations are your banks. They keep you focused. They keep you flowing. They give you depth. The beauty of specialization. Look at nature. An eagle doesn't apologize for not swimming. A dolphin doesn't feel shame for not flying. A rose doesn't compare itself to an oak. Each thing in nature is perfectly itself. And in being perfectly itself, it contributes something no one else can. The eagle contributes mastery of the sky. The dolphin contributes mastery of the sea. The rose contributes beauty. The oak contributes strength. None is complete. All are essential. You are the same. You have something to contribute that no one else can. Not because you're better than everyone, but because you're different from everyone. Your experiences, your wiring, your perspective, your gifts, they combine in a way that's uniquely yours. And when you try to be someone else, you rob the world of that uniqueness. The path of integration. Becoming exceptionally you isn't about finding one perfect thing and doing only that forever. It's about integration. It's about understanding your patterns and designing your life around them. It's about knowing your strengths and finding ways to use them daily. It's about accepting your limitations and partnering with people who fill the gaps. It's a lifelong practice, not a destination. Some days you'll nail it. Some days you'll forget. Some days you'll fall back into old patterns. That's okay. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is direction. The gift you bring. Let me leave you with this. You have a gift. Not the gift you've been trying to develop. Not the gift you think you should have. Not the gift that looks like someone else's. Your gift. The one that's been there all along. The one you dismissed as nothing special. The one that feels so natural you don't even notice it. That gift is your contribution. It's what you bring to your work. It's what you bring to your relationships. It's what you bring to the world. And the world needs it. Not a diluted version of you. Not a fixed version of you. Not a version of you that looks like everyone else. The real you. The exceptional you. The you that emerges when you stop fighting yourself and start becoming yourself. So here's my final invitation. Stop trying to be well-rounded. Stop managing weaknesses as if they're your life's work. Stop comparing yourself to people who are wired differently. Start paying attention to your signals. Start spending energy where it counts. Start designing your life around what you do best. Because when you do, when you finally stop fighting your grain and start flowing with it, everything changes. Not overnight. Not without effort. But deeply. Fundamentally. Irreversibly. You become not who you thought you should be, but who you actually are. And that is the only success that matters. So here we are. At the end of this journey together. We've explored a different way of thinking about yourself. A way that doesn't start with what's broken, but with what's already right. We've seen that you're not a problem to be solved. You're a pattern to be understood. Your mind has a natural grain. Your energy has natural flows. Your talents have natural directions. And when you work with them, life gets lighter. Not easier, necessarily, but lighter. The struggle lessens. The exhaustion fades. The confusion clears. And in their place comes something else. Clarity. Purpose. Momentum. Joy. Not because you fixed everything wrong. Because you finally started using what's right. A final thought. I want you to remember something. The world doesn't need another person trying to be someone else. The world needs you, fully, deeply, unapologetically you. Your quirks aren't flaws to fix. They're features of your design. Your struggles aren't signs of failure. They're signals pointing toward your strengths. Your differences aren't weaknesses. They're the very things that make you valuable. So go. Go and pay attention to your signals. Go and spend energy where it counts. Go and partner with people who fill your gaps. Go and build a life that fits your wiring. Not perfectly. Not all at once. But consistently. Daily. One step at a time. Because that's how strength is built. Not in grand gestures. But in small choices, made over and over again. Choices to trust yourself. Choices to follow your energy. Choices to become more of who you are. One last invitation. Before you go, take a moment. Just one moment. Close your eyes if you're able. Think about one thing you've learned here that matters to you. One insight. One shift. One idea. Hold it in your mind. Now ask yourself, what would change if I lived from this insight? What would I do differently tomorrow? What would I stop doing? What would I start? Let the answers come. Don't force them. Just let them arrive. And when you're ready, open your eyes. You've just taken the first step. The step from knowing to doing. Keep taking that step. Every day. and watch what happens. Thank you. Thank you for spending this time with me. Thank you for being willing to look at yourself differently. Thank you for choosing growth over comfort. If this audiobook has added value to your life, please like this video. It helps others find it too. Share it with someone who's been trying to fix themselves for too long. Someone who needs permission to be who they already are. And subscribe to the channel. More deep dive audiobooks are coming your way. More tools for your growth journey. More invitations to become exceptionally you. Until next time. Trust your signals. Follow your energy. And keep becoming. This is the strength within.